Hello everyone, welcome to ETimes. I'm Rachit Gupta and today joining us for a conversation is Anubhav Sinha. He makes some really great films. His last 4 films are my favorites, so let's just get into that conversation. Hi Anubhav sir, how are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you, Rachit? Thank you.
Alright, so sir, let's just jump into Anek. What sort of reactions have you got? और इसमें से कितने reactions you were expecting and how many of these were unexpected?
So Anek has had really polarized reactions. So there are only 2 reactions that I've got: mind blowing, brilliant, और भाई ऊपर से गई.
Okay.
So I always said this before the release of the film, that the more you see this film, the more you will get it.
Okay.
Unless you are a political dinosaur, you know everything. So when Sudhir Mishra sees it, he gets every bit of it. When some of the the critics whose reviews I read, they got it all. It's too political for any casual watch. You have to be alert. You must be a political man if you like Anek. And so there is so much that I have done in Anek in terms of voicing that dare I say that if even you saw it one more time, you will find more things in it.
Right. You're talking about layers.
Layers, nuances, the entire history of Northeast and its struggles is so complex, and then I have gone ahead and enveloped 7 states into one, and so then I have gone ahead and drawn a parallel with Kashmir. So all that is too much. Maybe that's a fatal flaw of the film, but people who get it don't say so.
Right. That was one of my questions. I was going to pose it later, but since you brought it up, did you actually pack in too much? Because, and this question, the reason I want to ask you is this, because a lot of our audience are younger people, especially when you consider after the OTT revolution, etc. So, did you pack in too much of politics and too much of backstory in this film? Like you said, bringing Kashmir in, was that necessary? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not repenting on that at all. See, I'll have to make my films.
Right.
I cannot make your films.
True.
And I am in no position of wisdom or experience to be able to second guess the audience. I think it is sacrilegious to second guess the audience. कि मेरे को मालूम है audience को ये अच्छा लगेगा, मैं ये बनाएगा. You can only make your films as earnestly as possible. So some will be more accessible and some will be less accessible. I don't think I should be wanting to find a formula inside this. Have I started packing in too much? I'm evolving. I'm reading more. So when I walk into a film now, I'm better informed than I used to be when I made Mulk or Article or Thappad. Not Thappad, but Mulk and Article. I was not as informed when I was making Anek. Bheed is a way more accessible film. It's about something that everyone knows of. Whereas Anek was also inaccessible for its geopolitical situation.
Right.
You don't know about it. A very dear friend, a very senior journalist, I don't want to name him, when the film wasn't doing too well at the box office and I was depressed, this very senior international journalist tells me that Anubhav, the very reason you made this film is the very reason people don't care about it.
Exactly.
So I thought that was the best articulation about it, that a lot of people came and told me during the early previews that I don't care much about that girl. And I should have got it, that exactly the point.
That's the point of the film, actually.
Yeah. So the film released, and by Saturday I knew that it wasn't going to do well. And I've seen flops before, and much worse. But I was never in love with any of those films. This one I'm proud of. I am possessive of. I love it. So that, throws you off. Right. So I just took a flight and I went away. So I went to Dubai, and then a friend was in Istanbul and he said, come here. So I flew and I went to Istanbul. So when I came back, I could not figure out. So I came back and I started calling distributors and exhibitors. So I would call cinema owners, cinema chain owners, and talk to them. कि क्या लगता है, क्या हुआ? So one of them ended up saying something very interesting कि कौन लोग हैं, इनकी पिक्चर क्यों देखनी है, इनकी समस्या, इनकी कहानी क्यों सुननी है? Which is slightly heartbreaking, but I am very happy that I have tried to do something like that in a mainstream realm, and I am reasonably certain this film will find its people.
Right. So even when I was watching the film, I felt that you were aiming for a slightly bigger picture. It wasn't just about the geopolitics and the social relevance of people who come from our northeast states. You were trying to paint a picture of an India and how that India reacts to different sort of cultures. Is that true? And I mean, what sort of layering were you sort of going for?
This is what the film is actually about. The mainland authoritarianism of India. We'll tell you what India is. We'll tell you what language to speak. We'll tell you what food to eat. And sometimes I'll have South Indian. And when you say I'll have South Indian, we don't realize how many states there are in South India. Right. So South Indian is not a cuisine. This is Malabari cuisine, and there is all sorts of things. So I violently, profoundly disagree with the authoritarianism of mainland India. And I wanted to question that. That's the reason why I enveloped the entire Northeast into one. That's the reason why I draw a parallel with Kashmir. It's because I'm questioning mainland India.
Right. Going to the performance of the film, a certain section nowadays feels that pan-India films are this new term that's
I know.
They are responsible for Hindi films not doing well. Do you subscribe to that thought कि they cater to a massy audience and therefore they are appealing to more people, whereas Hindi films are sort of catering to a more niche multiplex audience, therefore they are not doing that well?
They never did.
Okay.
Hindi films always cater to the mainstream audience. So let's admit that there is something very peculiar going on at the Indian box office in general, especially Hindi box office. There is no pattern. So no matter how disappointed I was with the performance of my film at the box office, the exhibition sector wasn't.
Okay.
They think, sir, आप क्यों इतना परेशान हो रहे हो? अभी कहाँ चल रही है picture? People are not coming to the theaters. They did not come for a Ranveer Singh. They did not come for a Tiger Shroff, Ajay Devgan. Why are you feeling so? You make niche films anyway. So their view is like that. But suddenly, Bhool Bhulaiya goes through the ceiling. KGF goes through the ceiling. RRR goes through the ceiling. Suddenly, lack of understanding sort of nudges you into starting to create a mythical, mystical envelope of ignorance. And you say, South Indian picture चल रही है, they know better. तो अभी सबको South Indian picture बनानी है. तो उन्होंने ऐसा मान लिया कि 3 साउथ इंडियन पिक्चर चल गई, इसका मतलब अब जो है पूरे देश में साउथ इंडियन फिल्में देखी जाएंगी. When I say South Indian films, I mean that kind of action, that kind of styling. And again, which South Indian? Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, which one? Nobody knows. वो बड़ी अच्छी बात एक दिन किसी ने बड़े पढ़े लिखे आदमी ने मुझसे कही थी कि वो जब लिफ्ट नई आई थी तो लोगों को समझ में नहीं आता था कि ये बटन दबाते हैं 5 तो ये 5 पे आके कैसे रुक जाती है, फिर हम बोलते हैं नीचे आ जा तो नीचे आ जाती है, ये होता कैसे है? तो लोगों को समझ नहीं आया. तो उन्होंने कहा ये ऑटोमेटिक है. ऑटोमेटिक के लिफाफे में उसको डाल दिया. वो ऑटोमेटिक एक्चुअली इग्नोरेंस का लिफाफा था. देन मोबाइल फोन्स केम इन एंड दे थिंक we used to pick up the phone and dial suddenly to America. हाँ कैसा है? What's going on? What is this? It's computerized. So when we fail to understand something, we create a false envelope. We give it a name and we dump all our ignorance inside that envelope.
Right.
So right now, the exhibition sector, the producing sector, the studio, the corporate sector, finance sector of film industry is groping. What will work and what will not work? There's a churning for sure. People have seen all kinds of content, 2 years sitting at home, various OTT platforms. Their taste, so they say now they are very evolved. They've seen international cinema and they will only watch good stuff. But then they go and watch traditional Bollywood potpourri material. So then you say, what? Then why didn't you evolve? No, now go watch Anek. But they didn't. So I don't have the answer. I don't think anyone has the answer. But there's something going on, and soon enough, after 6 to 8 successes, we'll see a pattern. So the most obvious pattern right now is that they will go for entertaining films. They will not go for intense films.
Right.
But I think it's too early. The sample size is too small.
Okay. Do you feel this entire system is rebooting and then it will sort of find its own feet?
I wish it was rebooting. It won't.
Okay.
We are all sorry, it's with too many nasty words coming to my head. But I don't think the system will ever reboot.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I have to ask you this, sir. You know, from Mulk to Article 15 to Thappad and now Anek. I mean, you said yourself. Perhaps, I mean, looking back, you were not as aware, as prepared when you were making Mulk. So, this journey of 4 films that you've had recently, what has each film taught you? And how have you sort of unlearned certain things that you carried from before?
I haven't unlearned anything consciously. But my syntax has changed. So now, even if I have to have a song in the film, it has to have a meaning. It has to earn its place.
Right.
So the syntax has changed. So just to give an example, in Thappad there was this song where at the party where she gets slapped, she's dancing to the whole family is dancing to a song. The natural instinct was to have a new song made for the film, and I started working on it. But then I said, no, in parties you play songs that are already hits.
Right.
So then it became simple for me. I went to Bhushan, I said, give me a super hit song that you've just had. So he said, you Ayushmann, your favorite actor, take his song. And some Morni song we played. So a new song could not earn a place in my film, whose first film was called Tumbin, with 13 songs in it. So that is the syntax shift. Now everything has to earn its place from my point of view, right or wrong, that the audience will decide and the critics will decide and connoisseurs will decide. Learning is I want to have all-rounded view on something that I'm making a film on. So I end up reading a lot of academic books. Like for Northeast, I have read stuff which goes back like 400 years into the history of Northeast, which probably was not necessary, but I felt obliged to do that.
Right. But that's good, right? I mean, that was also one of my questions when you're writing a film, when you're creating a project. Are you now spending more time researching about it? And are you now sort of not averse to the fact that, even if this takes longer than I had anticipated, I will do the right thing and first, clear the draft and only then go into shoot? I mean, have you seen that change in your process come about?
So I was supposed to shoot a film in September, October this year. The lead actor and the lead actress were in place. I had their dates. And before the entire activity of promotion started, I wrote a draft which everybody liked.
Okay.
I postponed the film on my own because I wasn't happy with it. Dramatically, it was correct, but I felt I needed to know more about that subject matter, and it is a very complex subject matter. So I need to read, and I need to read at least 10 books before I earn the right to make that film. So I have pushed it indefinitely.
Okay.
I'll probably make it a year later because I need to read those 10 books.
But where does this stem from? Is it because now you are a producer yourself that it allows you to take these decisions? That I can kar lete hain, postpone.
It also comes with success. So I was just considering the question. No, even if I was just a director, and because there are successes behind me, I could have easily said कि नहीं अभी नहीं बनाऊंगा, मैं बाद में बनाऊंगा.
Okay.
So, and people will buy it. So now the sense of responsibility that I feel towards the film that I'm making is way more grave. I'm trying to sort of take it easy, but sometimes the subject matter is not such that you can take it easy. So it weighs heavy on you, and you want to be as well-rounded and as fair as possible.
Right. Fair enough. So one more thing, when you're producing a film for yourself versus when you're, say, producing a film for, you're working with now Sudhir Mishra sir, I think Ketan Mehta sir, and Hansal Mehta sir. So these guys are auteurs of cinema. They have a proven track record. So when you're producing for yourself versus when you're producing for them, is there a change in process? Is there a line you need to draw? Do you change yourself? Do you change your instincts? How does it work?
So, no, nothing.
Okay.
They write the scripts, I read the drafts, I say whatever I have to say, and we agree on a budget, and off they go. Like right now, as you and I are speaking, Hansal is shooting in Baroda and Sudhir is shooting in Jodhpur. And that's all I know about it.
Okay.
I don't know what they are shooting today, and what shift there is. I don't know if their lunch break was late or not. So for me it ends there, because like you said, they are auteurs and they will make their films. I cannot tell them how to make their films. I need to agree on which film I want to produce with them.
Right.
And my journey ends there. Maybe I'll participate more in the promotions of the marketing of the film. Excuse me. Maybe I'll participate a bit in the casting of the film, whereas I will have an opinion. But that's where it ends.
Okay.
And it's been, Hansal has finished making a film already for me. He's right now shooting his segment of anthology that we're making. And I must have gone to Hansal's shoot once.
Okay.
And I'll go to Sudhir's shoot because I want to go to Jodhpur and have khana. Sudhir is shooting nights, so I'm not going to be up all night. I'll go eat and come back to my hotel and sleep.
Okay. So is giving your directors freedom, is that the thought over here?
No. When I decided I'll make a film with Sudhir Mishra or Hansal Mehta, I thought about it. And I realized that I cannot tell them how to make a film. And even if I disagree with some of their methods, I cannot change those methods at this stage of their lives and careers. So either I make a film with them in the manner they make it, or I don't. Otherwise, I'm risking my friendships with them. So I don't interfere, meddle with that at all. They make them the way they want to make them. I have to like the script, and they have to adhere to the budget. That's all. It ends there.
One final question, sir. When you look around today, there's so much of political conversation that happens. Even as we are talking, there's a whole thing happening with the Maharashtra government. But my question here is that as a filmmaker, as a person who's telling stories, you have to keep certain audience perspectives and tastes in mind. And you've always been a very political person, whether it is on social media or through your films. So do you feel now is the ideal time for a filmmaker like yourself to explore more subjects, to even make maybe more brave choices, and in doing so probably even mentor younger filmmakers who want to follow in your path?
I'm making films with younger filmmakers also, and I'm not able to read too many scripts, but I try and read as much as I can, and I'm happy to make more films with more filmmakers. I don't know about making braver choices for myself. You'll have to elaborate a little more on that. So let's say on what?
Like for example, even making a film like Anek, I mean, you've taken a certain risk. You know, it's not just a creative risk; it's also a political risk. So, I mean, does that reflect that you are now sort of making brave choices?
No, I am not interested in brave.
Okay.
I'm interested in the voice. That voice sometimes would be brave. Like, maybe article was braver than Thappad. But Thappad is benign politically, right? But then Anek is braver. So you won't find a graph in that.
Okay.
But if I realize it's brave while I'm making it, I don't care.
All right.
If that's your question. I don't care.
Okay.
I will not make a film because the environment might not be happy with it. I will not make that film if I'm not allowed to make that film. By money or by power. They're the only two methods that can stop me from saying what I want to say. Because I need money to say it.
Exactly.
So either money shuts me up or the power shuts me up. Then I'll stand with the placard somewhere.
Okay. All right. Okay, so on that thought, we'll end this conversation. Thank you so much for having.
Thank you, Rachit.
Surya.
Thank you
Best
for.
of luck for your film, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.